Welcome everyone. We're on our second episode and we are super excited. I'm welcoming Julia today again. Welcome, Julia. How was your week?
Hey, yeah, great. How was yours?
Busy. We're back in Australia, so we're sort of seeing everyone and can't wait to see you.
I know,
Um,
same.
yeah, so we're back for a month and just sort of seeing our family, catching up with everyone, and yeah, just keeping busy. What did you get up to this week?
I've just been back at work, which has been hard because coming back from summer holidays is always a little bit tricky.
Oh, a drag.
But I've also started a new job, so it's been good. I've been learning new things, so that's kept me busy as well.
Ah, nice. How was the tennis? I saw you went to the tennis.
Oh, the tennis was awesome. The tennis is always such a good vibe in Melbourne. Like, I just love everyone is having a good time, and you see so many amazing players play. Yeah, I love
And
it.
I feel like the weather's like always good. Like the last few days, it has really turned it on.
Yeah.
And like it's sort of like a long weekend now. Yeah, I suppose Australia Day today and then tomorrow everyone's usually probably taking it off. So it's sort of a
Yeah.
good vibe in the city.
I always forget like there's a public holiday in January, like at the end, because you've had Christmas and New Year's, and
I
then
know,
all of a
right?
sudden there's another one, and you're like, oh, that's
I feel
cool.
like I feel like Australia though, like they need to spread their holidays out because like, I feel like we get all the public holidays at the start of the year, and then it's like after June you get like nothing until like Melbourne Cup in Victoria. So I'm
So
like, spread
true.
it out a bit, guys. Like,
It'd be nice to have
um,
one every month, wouldn't
perfect. Absolutely, that's what we want.
it?
Um, but today we wanted to talk to you guys about it may be a little bit of a sensitive topic for you guys to listen to today. It is a personal topic, but Julia and I feel the need to address it as it is something that is quite major in the teenage years at the moment. We're going to talk about insecurities in teenage years and moving into young adulthood. If you don't know exactly what insecurities means, it's sort of a lack of confidence and feeling like you're not good enough. And one of the biggest insecurities that teenagers do have, and you probably have, or your friend, you might know someone that might have it, is the fear of being judged in front of people, or it might be jealous of someone on social media, so like an influence you may follow. So, a lot of things that people might say is, body image issues. I'm not thin enough, or I don't have the new iPhone, or I need to be friends with the popular people. And self doubt, it plays a major part when growing up and moving into young adulthood. There's a lot of pressure, as you can imagine.
A lot, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Julia and I have both been there, and we wanted to talk to you guys about it. So you have something to relate to, and then of course, how do we overcome such a sensitive topic? And that's what we're here for today, to talk to you about it and talk through our personal experiences, and hopefully that you leave this episode feeling like you can relate, and you do get something out of it. So I'll pass it over to you, Julia. Tell me a little bit about your personal experience with insecurities and how it affected you personally.
Yeah, I definitely, and to this day, I think you always are dealing with
Absolutely.
insecurities, even as an adult, even as an older person, even when you're like 50 years old.
Yeah.
But for me, I found, yeah, high school was really challenging because you're facing a lot of challenges every day, and you are around a lot of different personalities. You're around a lot of pretty girls, you're around a lot of hot boys, and you find yourself comparing what you don't have to others. So for me, I think what I used to always be insecure about was when I was a teenager was my boobs. And I always used to think I've got really small boobs. I want big boobs. Like, why don't I have big boobs? And then on top of that, I also used to think I haven't got the best skin. And that was really hard for me because I was a swimmer. So I was always like no makeup in the water around boys. in swimming and always being like, oh, I hate my skin so much. Like, I just want my skin to just go away. And it didn't. I reckon I dealt with my skin insecurities for probably 10 years, actually.
And it's the
So even when
hormonal changes as well. Hey,
yeah,
like it's
yeah,
like, as you know, as I'm sure you're going to cover, like it's that from even the age of 12, your body just like is just fueling full of hormones, and you know, you get your
changing.
pimples, yeah, and your skin's
Yeah,
starting to be sensitive to different things. And like you said, with you know your boobs, like you're learning, oh my gosh, like I need to wear a bra now. Like
yeah,
who do I ask? Like where do I get a bra from? Like I'm too
yeah,
embarrassed to ask my mom. Like I know with me, my first bra, I'll remember it to this day. I
yeah.
was so embarrassed. Like I started to show, and I just, anyways, my auntie Ho, bless her soul, took me shopping and got me a bra. My first bra. I remember it.
Oh,
It like undid in the middle, and it had like lightning bolts on it. It was super. It was super cute. And I
that's
literally
so
remember to
cute.
this day. And I think like it was like my mum, the pressure was just like, phew, like I don't have to like have that sort of
Still,
boob talk.
yeah,
But like, yeah, in a swimsuit, like you have swimming lessons at school. Like
oh,
it's the pressure. Oh, do I wear a one piece? Do I wear like two pieces? Like,
yeah.
oh, like I've got to look nice. Like, oh, she's super tall. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And you
And
as a
it's
swimmer,
constant. Yeah, yeah. And I would remember getting like changed in the locker rooms. I wasn't really like that kind of person who hid my body, but you know, when you're around a lot of different body types, you would always look and, you know, see someone who had better something than you did, whether it was, yeah, boobs, or whether it was they were really skinny, or whether it was they had nice skin, or whatever it was. Yeah, it was the constant comparing.
yeah.
So that for me has always been my biggest challenge, not to compare myself to others. I think I've gotten to a good place now in my late 20s, 30 actually now, not late 20s anymore, 30 now. But yeah, it took me a really long time. And I think my skin journey was probably, for me, the hardest insecurity I dealt with during my high school years and leaving high school. So yeah, it's not easy.
It's
But
not. It's so
luckily I
tough.
had a very good mentor, my mum. So me and my mum are like best friends, and she was so helpful during my teenage years because, you know, you're hormonal, you guys fight. Like I was a bit of a bitch at times to her, and but she was always there for me. And she'd always like encourage me and like remind me why I was beautiful and what I had to offer the world, as opposed to like kind of encouraging me to wear makeup. She'd actually like look at, let's see what we can do. Like, let's see what natural routes we can go down to help you. So yeah, shout out to my mum. She's the best.
Woo! We love Julie's mum. She
Yeah.
is amazing.
She
She
loves
is
you as
amazing.
well.
And you know, you face the pressure from so many different sources. Like it's not just school, like it can be friends, it can be from your parents, and you know, just that social pressure. And then of course, on top of that, you've got your hormonal changes, which are like
Yeah.
crazy. And both
Yes.
boys and girls, they go through it completely different times, completely different ages. um so you continuously feel like when you are in that insecurity, you know, spot, you feel like the ground is just literally falling from under you. And which then of course then feeds into your insecurity. So it's like
Yeah.
you're going around circles continuously, and you're like, when is this going to end?
Yeah.
And you know, hormones, gotta love them.
Oh,
And
and they don't stop.
no, oh, they don't stop. Like they never stop.
You would know.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, it just feels like it just never ends. And I think, you know, as a teen, there is so much going on. You know, I think we really underestimate how much your body goes through from the age of 12 in regards, and not just the body, the mind. Like
Mhm.
you're going to a high school, completely different school, usually with a completely different group of friends. You're pressured into, what are you going to do in a career? Like what do you want to do? Like choose your electives. and then you're surrounded by all these very, as a female, you're surrounded by all these beautiful looking men, and and then you've got your friends, and everyone's trying to find their clique, and that's just natural. Like that's just, it's always going to be like that.
And you just
Going into
reminded me
high
of
school.
you just reminded me as well, like when you like a boy for the first time, or you're a boy and you like a girl for the first time,
Yeah.
and then they like someone else. And I think that in high school is like, that ruins your world, So I think having to deal with relationships for the first time with the opposite sex, like that is
It's
challenging. And then you're
crazy.
doing school. Yeah, it's a lot.
And I think as well, like when we were in school, the relationship side of things is just so different. It's like it's changed
Yeah.
so much now. And that is
Yeah.
a big factor as well that comes into it is, how we are communicating with these people. We
So
dash
true.
home and we jump on our phone and text them, So school doesn't end at 3 o'clock. It sort of never ends at the moment. And I think that's where the
Yeah.
insecurities are getting fed into, and they are getting, worse and worse for you. So I suppose we wanted to talk to you guys, today on the podcast about how the heck do we overcome this, and pinpointing exactly what you're insecure about. And I'm sure a lot of you don't know how to talk about your feelings, or you don't have someone in particular that you can express, your feelings to. And I think, a lot of the time you might not even be aware of what you're feeling. You just know that you're feeling really crap, and you feel really awkward. And once, I'm a true believer, as once you know what that trigger is, that's the biggest step. Being aware of what triggers you and makes you feel insecure, that's a massive step to overcoming those things.
And then also, once you know your triggers, like what helps you sort of find your peace or find your calm again? Like, is it just going and being by yourself, taking some deep breaths? Or is it actually talking, like you said, talking to somebody, whether it's like your best friend, or even whether it is your school counselor? Like some schools do have really good school counselors on site. I don't know if we did when we were at my high school. I can't remember, but I was seeing
I think,
a counselor
school counselors are a good
separately
one.
to school.
Yeah, I think school counselors are a really good one, Julia, just because they go in blindsided, and they're not going to, like your best friend, they're not going to feed into it
Judge.
again. Yeah, and there's a big difference with listening and listening. Like you
Yeah.
can listen and try and fix the problem straight away, or there's listening and actually taking in what that person's saying, not just being like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and then trying to fix it. That's, to me, not listening. Listening is someone sitting there taking in what you're talking about. And sometimes you don't want someone to fix the issue.
Yeah.
You want just someone to listen. And I think that's a huge thing. So having someone that, doesn't really know about your situation as such, or know you personally, they can then come in, if you do want the advice, come in with advice that isn't going to affect the way, your insecurities are as such.
That's so true. Yeah. And even if you want them to be someone that does know you and you don't want to see a counselor, like sometimes an older sibling may have a better insight because they've gone through something similar. Or maybe if it is one of your parents, I know when you're a teenager, you don't really want to talk to your parents all the time. But when my mum did give me advice, even though it was my mum, I was like, whatever, mum. She actually was really spot on, and she was able to get me over that situation a lot easier than my friends would have offered advice for.
Yeah,
So
and 100%, like, and it's your mum. Your mum
yeah.
genetically is like you. So
Yeah.
she, in some way, she processes her feelings, or your dad, they
Well,
process their feelings similar to you. It might not be exactly the same,
yeah.
but their little piece of advice or helping you talk through your feelings may actually help you relate to the situation. And if if these insecurities aren't addressed, and they aren't addressed earlier, that's going to go into your young adulthood, and that's the alarming fact is there could be terrible, harmful effects, if they aren't addressed, and that can lead to low self-confidence, and move forward through your whole life. So it's really important that if you are feeling a certain way and you don't think it's okay to feel that way, to address it, not just put it under the covers and think, oh, it's just a bad day, because that's not normal. It's not normal to feel like that.
And another thing I've learned since leaving school as well is, like, as much as someone's situation may seem better than yours, or you might think, oh, they're the popular girl or they're the popular guy in school, everyone's got their own demons. Everyone is going through something, and it may not seem that way on the outside. And that's exactly like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all those. To me, it's like, it's just a snippet into their world, and it's not always the full story. So don't take it as the full story. Like, really, like, look at it as it's a small snippet into their world. No one's world is perfect.
No, absolutely. And it's really, I think since being back in Australia, just walking down the street, it's just incredible. Like, everyone's just, I've got cousins that, had not even in high school yet, and they got the, a brand new iPhone, and they're texting their friends every 5 seconds. And I'm sure they've got social media as well. And it's people just think that it's all sunshine and butterflies, and it's not. Lots of people post, so they put on this front because they are insecure about certain things, and we can't judge a, as the saying goes, judge a book by its cover, because we don't know if that person has deep demons and they're just trying to put on a happy front to make them feel better. And I think that's probably it's just a huge issue at the moment, for teens. Like, social media is just sucking in everyone, and it's making us think that we need the best of the best, and we need to go see this person in concert, and we need to go to this restaurant, and we need to go to Mecca and buy this product. Like, it's really, really feeding into people's emotions and really affecting them earlier than what it has in the past. And it comes down to as well what we watch on Netflix. Like, there are so many, like, US dramas at the moment, like TV series that are addressing these issues. And me watching it, I think these people are like 18, but they're like 15, 16. That's how old, like, that's the role.
Wow.
Like, that's the role they're acting as. They're 15, 16-year-olds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I never spoke about that in school. Like, or, it's insane, like, the change that has happened. And it's just leading to so much.
We need to do another podcast episode on this, but it's like the perception of beauty is standards as well. Like, I remember when I was in high school, like, we weren't even wearing much makeup early years. We weren't really allowed to. It was always like there were rules for everything. But I feel like these days, like, you see a lot younger, sort of the younger generation, they are getting
like eyelash
even
extensions,
plastic surgery and things that I would never have even thought of. Even now, I'm 30, I still don't think about those things, but it's that exposure to, like, the Kardashian look, and this look of, like, it's a made up look. It's not real. Most of the people you see on reality shows these days have had work done, and it's becoming a norm, unfortunately.
100%. And you guys are beautiful. Like, it's not about what you look like. And I know it's like what your mum and dad tell you probably all the time, and it drives you so insane, but it's what's in here. And I've been through a lot of relationships as a teenager. I had a boyfriend very early and continued to have boyfriends. I think I had my first boyfriend in year 7. So it's all about what's in here, and it's not always about what's here. And don't get caught up on what's here, because if you're with a guy that is only for what is on your, your face, and I shouldn't keep doing movements because this is a podcast and you guys can only hear me, but I'm showing
I can
my
see
face. It's all about what's inside, and don't let, same with you guys, like, don't let a girl, or as a female, don't let a guy just be with you because of what you look like. Because again, that feeds into your insecurities about how you look, and I can only go out, for a coffee date or whatever it may be, to the movies, or if I've got my eyelashes done, or I got my makeup on, or that's just, it's not good. So you are
That's
beautiful,
so
whoever
true.
you are, and you got to
And
remember
looks
that self.
fade.
Yeah,
Looks fade.
absolutely. And you got to give
Personality.
all about the personality, and you've got to, if you are not feeling confident with yourself and how you may look, and Julie, when I went through this at the start in regards to how her skin looked, or you've got to remember as well, your friends are also going through hormonal changes at completely different stages. All your girlfriends aren't going to get their period at the exact same time. Like, you're not all going to
How old
get
were
pimples
you?
at the exact same time. I think I was in grade 6. No,
Oh, wow, that's
I was,
early.
yeah, I wasn't in high school yet.
Oh, wow,
Um,
that is early.
I think, yeah, I was in grade, I was in grade 6, and I remember it was my teacher's
Wow.
aide that I was really close with, and I went to the bathroom at lunchtime, and yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, I never really had the talk with my mum as yet either. It was sort of coming, the talk was coming, but it just sort of, it your body just does what it does. And I remember I totally freaked out in the bathroom, and went up to like the teacher's lunchroom, and Mrs. Sue was her name. And yeah, she helped me
Oh,
out. So, find someone as well at school, like a teacher or a teacher's aide. It might be your art teacher. It doesn't matter who it is, just someone that you can turn to and trust when things like that do happen. Because as I mentioned before, everyone goes through hormonal changes. Because it also depends on how fit you are. A lot of girlfriends of mine didn't get their periods until they were like 15. So
yeah.
everyone's so different.
I was 14, so yeah, a bit older than you, but yeah, I just remember being like so overwhelmed. Like, as a female, as a young
Yeah.
woman, you don't know what is going on. And
No.
like, yes, at those times, it's so hard. And I get it, because I was at a swimming competition when I got mine.
Oh my
And
God.
I had to call my mum from the bathroom, and she raced over. But, even just the whole idea of, sorry, this is a bit too much information, but putting a tampon in for the first time, like, no one teaches you
Yeah.
that.
No one
Like, my
teaches that.
mum
But
tried
no
to
one
help me.
can teach you though. That's the thing. They can show you how to do it. But it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff that, like, there's so many things that go on at that age. Like, it's insane. Like, we could,
Yeah.
there's a list, isn't there? Oh my gosh.
And for guys as well, like, I'm not from a family with any boys, but I do know that, yes, there's a lot of things happening for boys' hormones as well, and growth spurts. Like, you
100%.
might be really short and your friends are really tall, and you think, why am I the short one in the group? And then all of a sudden you've grown again. So
Boom. Yeah.
it's like a roller
And as well,
coaster.
like, guys listening, like, you've got to remember that your development might be a little bit later sometimes, and that's okay. There is nothing wrong with you. It is just everyone's development's completely different. Everyone's genetics are different. Why have you got blonde hair? Why have I got brown hair? Like, it's as simple as that. So
Exactly.
don't be hard on yourself, and don't let your mates make you feel like crap because they've got their own demons, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I suppose what I wanted to leave you guys with today is how to overcome some of these triggers. And I've got a few ones that I use as myself still to this day. It's the first one is eliminating negativity in form of words and thoughts. So start with positive self-talk. It might be, might get home from school and you might be like, why is everyone, why is everyone's mum letting them shave their legs and my mum just won't let me shave my legs? She thinks I'm too young. What's wrong with me? Like, I'm so embarrassed. I've got hairy legs. Like, I'm so embarrassed. It's sort of more about, okay, like, that's okay if mum won't let me do it. Let's see if she can let me use wax, or try and, change your thought of not just going straight to, why won't mum let me do it? Like, she's the worst mother in the world. It's like, I am beautiful the way I am. If people tease me for having hairy legs, which is so hard when you're in that moment of like stress. And it's very easy to get frustrated. And, you lose a little bit of control. But I think as well, parents, if you are listening, it's all about supporting your child and listening to how they feel as well, and not jumping in too early if they are frustrated, because there obviously is a reason why they want to do it. And then another one is open communication. I think mum and dads as well, if you are listening, it's, you need to sort of, I don't know, I'll hand this over to you, Julia, in regards to open communication, because you have a really close relationship with your mum, yeah?
Yeah. So definitely listening, like you kind of said, listening to what your child is saying to you. So they might be saying things and you don't agree. You're like, this doesn't make sense to me, but it's really triggering them and it's hurting them. So like, what can you guys come up with as a solution together? It might be a bit of both, like a bit of give and take. So I don't know if it's a curfew issue, for instance. All my friends have a curfew of 10 p.m., let's just say, and my parents won't let me go out past 8. It's like coming to that middle ground. Maybe you can make it 9 o'clock. Like, what else can you guys come up with together? And I think my mum was really good at that because she was a solo parent a lot of the time. So she was dealing with like me and my sister, and we both were in sort of different stages of high school. So she had to sort of learn to adapt with both of us, but she still set guidelines as well. But if she had just made us like have a real strict upbringing, we would not have that same relationship we do today, because she did trust us. And like to this day, people still say to me, my sister, like, oh, like they're so mature and they're so grown up and like very confident. It's like, that's all come from my mum, because she had that leeway with us. She wasn't just like, these are the rules, don't break them. So I think
that's really important. Like, my parents were very similar. Bad things happen after midnight, as my mum would always say. So
yeah, so true.
I always had to be home by midnight. If I was 1 minute late, I was always in a lot of trouble. But I knew that I had to be home by midnight. And the deal was anyways that if I wanted to go, to my friend was having a party or something, mum or dad would always pick me up. I could go to the party with my girlfriends. That was never an issue. It was mum and dad was to always pick me up. And I think at the start, I was really like, oh, it's so unfair. My parents always pick me up. But I was like, you know what? They're actually letting me go. And I'm allowed to go with my girlfriend. I'm allowed to rock up with them. So I think we found that middle ground, and mum and dad, and your mum was probably exactly the same as well. I think as well to this day, why I am who I am and the entrepreneur that, I love being, is because I learned mum and dad never made decisions for me. I made the decisions for myself, and I learned from my mistakes. And from those mistakes, like I've never made that mistake again. I've always overcome that and learnt my lesson from it. And mum and dad have always said, see, you figured it out yourself. Like, we didn't have to tell you. And I think that stops rebellious,
so true.
Well, which is a whole nother conversation we'll go into in another podcast. But yeah, it's about having that open communication, And then, one that we've already covered is identifying those triggers. Where are those fears coming from? Where is that insecurity coming from? You know, the danger zones, how to reduce those stress levels. And then
what makes you feel better. So like for me, it might be having a bath. I know that sounds so simple, but even as a teenager, that was like my bliss. Like having a bath would always calm me down, even if I was in the worst mood, even if someone was mean to me at school, even if I lost a swimming race. These are just examples. Having a bath and like reminding myself what I do like about my day can be so small. It could be literally your favorite meal. Your favorite meal can make you feel better.
And just getting a hobby. Like, I feel like it's really important for everyone to have their own hobby and have one thing that they know they are good at. Like with me, everyone played sport, right? Everyone played sport. Everyone played basketball, and like I was never good really at sport. But dancing, like I did tap and jazz, and that was like my thing. Like
that was yours,
and that's where I felt my most confident. So I think finding, it doesn't have to be sport, it doesn't have to be dance. It could be like art class, it could be horse riding, it could be anything. Just find what you feel good at, like, and you don't have to convince yourself that you're good at it. It just comes naturally. So I think that's
and you don't need to be the best at it either.
No.
It just needs to make you feel good about yourself
and encourages your self-confidence. And then one of my most, like the one that I love the most, is structure. You need structure. As a teen, as we've already covered, hormones are crazy. Social, emotional, everything's going on. Like it's just crazy. So having that structure, coming home from school and not just lying on the couch and watching TV, having that structure of, you might be going straight to a sport and then coming home and eating dinner, then having a shower and then reading a book and going to bed. Having structure is really important because you're not having those up and down, low moments. That is, again, encouraging your insecurities.
And the screen time as well, obviously. I know you sound like a parent when you say screen time, but I actually find myself saying it to myself in my head when I'm on Instagram too long. Don't do it as much anymore, but occasionally I will scroll or like click on someone who's real pretty, like a beautiful influencer, and then find myself looking at all her posts and wanting her life. And I still do it, and I'm 30, but it's like, it's hard. And then I have to break it. And I'm like, why am I doing this?
I'm going in a rabbit hole.
Literally. And then I like throw my phone off, like away from me, like, see ya.
We are all like
Goodbye.
So guilty of that. It is so bad.
Yeah.
And then I think the last one that is really important is for everyone, mums and dads, all the teenagers listening, brothers and sisters, is listen to each other and work towards goals and strategies so you can achieve those goals. You've got to fight the uncertainty and, rely on those goals to make you feel better. And again, going back to positive self-talk, I can't do it. Yes, I can do this. It's going to be hard, but I can do it. Just swapping those small words changes the ball game. Like, I know with me, if I'm feeling like I've had no sleep, I've got, no one to help me with the kids, whatever it may be, it's like, you know what, I can do this. Like, I'm human. This is what I, was born to do. It's possible. You can do it. And then later, that's when you have your downtime. It's just a different outlook.
Sorry to interrupt you. Every day, I was going to add on to that, is a new day. So like, you may have a real bad day, and we all do, but I try to think of it as, this has been a bad day, but I've had bad days before and I've had amazing days. So just treat each day as a new day and try to stay in the present moment, because that does really help with kind of clearing your mind space and waking up and going, I can do this. This is a new day. It's as simple as that, really.
And get a diary, and you too, guys, this is not just for females. Everyone should have a diary. And I'm also going to put in the show notes, and I'm also going to put on Instagram today, just some little affirmation cards that I've made that you can print out and stick on your mirror or on the back of your bedroom door, wherever it may be, just to remind yourself of, giving yourself some self-love talk and reminding yourself why you do what you do. And then I'm also going to put in, it's like a little planner. So all you do is you fill out, it asks you a few questions. You have to get an emoji as how you're currently feeling, and you draw your little emoji. And I put it out to you guys today that I want you to try and do that for me 7 days in a row, and then come back to us and tell us how you feel. I'm a big believer in writing down. It may be 1 or 2 words. You might not be a big talker, and that's okay. But if you can write it down and process it, that's really important.
So true. I love that. Affirmation cards are the best. That's really nice.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. And they're not, you've got to keep doing it. Just because you've done it for a week doesn't mean it's going to stick with you for the rest. You've got to do the groundwork, and you've got to keep, scheduling. You've got to do the structure. You've got to keep doing it. It's not just going to happen on its own. And I think that's what happens. We think, oh, we'll do it for a month. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so good, I don't need to do it anymore. Yes, you do, because you're going to have a really crap day and you're going to go right back to where you started. So you've got to keep that structure up and keep writing down or talking about how you're feeling to get out of those insecurities, because otherwise you're just going to go into a really deep dark hole, and you don't want to be there. I've been there, and it's not nice.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get out of that hole once you are in it. So just do the little steps, and we can promise you it will change.
100%. That was beautiful ending to that.
Well, I hope you guys leave with something today. We always want to give you a little bit of our personal experiences. I believe, you've got to have someone have someone that you can relate to, and so you don't feel like you're doing it on your own. Julia and I, our DMs are always open if you do want to have a chat. We are so open. We love you guys, and we're always here if you do need, just someone to listen to. It, I believe, we're great listeners, and we're not going to flood you with advice unless you ask. We're just normal people. We're no one special. So we always open if you guys want to have a chat.
You're special. We're all special.
We're both special, but we might not fix your problem, but we're here to listen. So
exactly.
We're always open. Both Julia and I put our handles in the show notes as well today. And if you have any topics that you want Julia and I to cover in the next coming weeks, you can send us a DM, or there is a little spot in Spotify that you can put a topic that you want to hear from us. But that's today.
That's been great. Yeah, honestly, guys, I love that we have this space, and this is our first actual topic episode. So welcome, and there's going to be plenty more that follows from next week onwards, or what is it? Fortnightly.
Fortnightly, yeah. Thank you again, everyone, for listening, and have a fabulous weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.